We've got the family ties themselves, something special. Thrilled to be joined by father and son, broadcaster for the Phillies, among other things, Tom McCarthy, and radio broadcaster for the Iron Pigs, among his other responsibilities, Pat McCarthy. How you both doing today, guys?
We're doing great. See, I was
I-
waiting for him to answer first because I was deferring to the younger of the two.
Well, so that was going to be my first question. Who gets to talk first, and did you coordinate that?
We did not. It should be me, but I know how he is, so I figured he would want to talk first.
Well, I'll defer to my better judgment on that one.
Look at that, Pat. I mean, you guys are a fun story. Obviously we could talk baseball with you all day, but the family stuff is kind of cool to us. Tom, you were with the Thunder doing public relations and media relations when Pat was born. Pat, you grew up at stadiums. How cool is it for both of you to be having careers in the same field? Tom, I'll go to you first, and then I'll let Pat answer after.
Well, guys, you never know what kind of effect you're going to have on your kids when you're doing the things that you're doing for a living. And I traveled a lot, so I never knew what kind of impact that would have long term on any of the four kids that we have. The fact that Pat wants to do this for a living, and Tommy's in sports too, I think it's a pretty big deal because I think they see that that it's a pretty good life. I mean, there's a lot of great things that go along with it. So for me, I think that's kind of cool. I know there's a lot of things that they all could be doing, but the fact that one of our daughters is following in my wife's footsteps as a teacher, and Patrick's following me, and then Tommy's still playing and possibly could be doing this down the road at some point. The wild card is our youngest one, who probably is going to try to go into the FBI and law, which has nothing to do with anything that we're doing in the McCarthy household.
We will stay on your good side.
Yeah, definitely. Hey, Pat, how about you? I mean, you made your debut at the stadium at 3 days old, I saw in a story, and now you get to be there to see it all. What's this like for you, this journey?
Yeah, everything's kind of come full circle to the first opportunity that I had to call a professional baseball game was at the Thunder, and it was just a last-second fill-in. They needed somebody to come on a day when the Hartford Yard Goats didn't have a stadium, so the Hartford Yard Goats were playing a home game against the Thunder, and it wasn't supposed to be a home game originally, so they were in need of a broadcaster, and they just brought me over. And then eventually, being fortunate enough to start in Reading and just enter the Phillies family at such a young age, but, it's like my dad said, kind of, I think we've grown up appreciating everything that has come with it, and even if necessarily when we were younger, we didn't get that right away. That as we've gotten older, we've appreciated everything that's come with the business. And now I think having this time away has reassured me even more, now that we're doing other things in the world, of how much we love being in sports and broadcasting sports. And, it's given us an opportunity to really grow closer as a family, I think, which has been great. But it's also allowed us to really appreciate how cool it is to be getting the chances that we are. So to be able to follow in his footsteps and to be able to really do a lot of the same things that he was doing, whether that was Princeton football, Princeton basketball, St. Joe's basketball, and then working in the Phillies family, it's really been a blessing, and it's been a lot of fun.
How great was it when you guys got to call a game together? I thought that was so cool to be able to see that.
I thought it was neat. I mean, my thought was, I was kind of the analyst and Pat was the play-by-play guy, so that was kind of cool. He was the recruited basketball player out of high school, but he was doing the play-by-play. I was just a mediocre player out of high school who was just kind of doing color commentating. But it was cool because it came down to the last minute of the game, so that gave me a chance to kind of just sit back and let him call really the last 30 seconds of it. And, he did a really good job with it too, which is kind of neat. That's the part of it that's cool, is to watch him do what he's doing and to see that there's somewhat of an impact on the way I did it before. But that was kind of neat. Jerry Price is the one who originally asked us to do that from Princeton. And, it was neat. It was kind of cool because it may not happen again. So it's cool to have it happen at least one time.
What does it mean for you?
Yeah, and I think
on the call with your dad.
Yeah, and I think we were both when it first happened, we were both kind of wondering how we were going to do it and how it was going to work. But it was so much fun. It was such a special moment, and it's like you said, you never know when you're going to get those types of opportunities again, and you soak it in and you realize how special it was. And there's plenty of people in this world that would love to get to have those memories, and we're really fortunate that we get to share something that we love together, and we get to do it together. And I get to grow with him right next to me and by watching him and stuff. So yeah, it was a fun game, and it was a really cool full circle moment being at Princeton together. And I can remember the first time I really ever went on the road with him was a Princeton back-to-back weekend road trip, and they were playing Yale and Brown, I want to say. Is that
Brown?
Right?
Yeah, Yale and Brown. Yep.
Yeah. And so to get a chance to do a Brown game together and to throw the headset on, it was really neat.
Yeah, in fact, guys, right before the game started, I said to him, so why don't I do the play-by-play and you do the color? And he almost went white as a ghost when I said that.
Little surprise for him.
One of the things that comes across when we listen to both of you is how much fun you have when you call those games, not just with calling the games themselves and being part of the game, but even with the Fanatic and Pat, you with Fifi and Ferris. What is it like for you guys to know, as iffy as last year was, that you get to do it again?
Well,
I think
yeah, good, Pat.
No, I think it is our personalities, and I think that's what the best part is that if you know us personally, you know that we're both just massive goofballs, and obviously we don't bring that fully onto the air, but it's our personalities do shine through, and we like to have fun, and whether that's the Fanatic and Ferris and Fifi, and to the extent even our broadcast partners make that a lot easier for us, is that we're able to be ourselves while still being able to call the game in a professional way. So, those are the little things that I think you miss more than anything. It's just the ability to sit there and just have fun while doing your job.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing is getting a chance to kind of enjoy just the livelihood that we've been able to put together. I mean, I hope Pat has the chance to have the longevity that I have, and I found long ago, when I was with the Thunder and I was the assistant general manager and doing the PR and the media, I enjoyed that, but I didn't love it. I liked it. I didn't love it. I'm a competitor, so I tried to be as good at it as I possibly could. And there was a point where I was thinking about taking a president's position with another minor league team in the area, and I just realized that I didn't want to do that. And my hope is that we get a chance to do this again, but also that he gets a chance to, whatever it is his final destination, that he goes to work every single day, kind of like I do, where I don't feel like I have a bad day when I go to work. I mean, there's nothing, when I was an administrator, I probably felt that way, but not as a broadcaster. I'm like excited about everything. We have a game tomorrow against the Tigers, the spring training game, and we're not even in spring training, but I'm looking forward to it. I'm excited to see Zach Eflin pitch. I mean, that's pretty cool.
What's it like for you to know that the fans are going to be back in the stands? I mean, Pat, I've texted with you and you talked about how excited you were with the possibility of them coming back in May. For the Phillies, Tom, you have fans that are going to be back in the stands from opening day. What is it like for you to know that you're going to be there with fans back in the stands?
Oh, I think it's great. I think that I always knew it, but I realized it even more so. I had to do the Bills and Ravens playoff game, and they had 6,700 in a 70,000 seat facility. And, Taron Johnson had this interception from a yard deep in the end zone that turned into a 102-yard touchdown return for an interception. And those 6,700 people, I mean, the place was rocking, and it was just overwhelming. Anyway, that sort of convinced me, like, okay, we're only having 8,800 to start the season. Pat's going to have 2,000 probably to start the season, if not maybe a little bit more. It means something. I can even hear it with these spring training games, how there's an ambiance to the fans when you hear it.
It's so exciting when you hear fans on the broadcast. Pat, I wanted to ask you, you get to meet a lot of these young Phillies before they end up as stars or on players on the big team with Tom. You ever share your scouting reports on your interviews with them? Let them know what to expect coming up.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. The one that comes to mind more than anything was I got caught pre-recording an interview. That normally I like to do interviews the day of, but sometimes if we have a day game or something that next day, I just don't really have that opportunity to. And I can remember being in Pawtucket, and Sean Rodriguez was playing with the Iron Pigs at that point. He got called up the day that I was supposed to be doing the interview with him. So I remember just sending them that interview real quick because he was getting called back up. And then that was the one time I was like, all right, guess I can't pre-record these interviews anymore because guys are going to be gone. But also, with a lot of the younger pitchers and stuff, we can go over scouting reports and whether I've talked to our pitching coach in an interview or something like that. So, yeah, it works that we're able to kind of, shovel information back and forth to each other.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that. In fact, the other day when Damon Jones came in, I texted Pat and said, hey, confirm with me what Damon Jones throws. Because Ruben was asking, because he obviously was pitching, and we have only seen him a few times. But, so that kind of stuff is really helpful.
We're not going to ask you to name names, but has there ever been a time, Pat, where you've called your dad and said, this guy's going to be bad?
No, I think a lot of times it's the opposite conversation. It's a lot of times I see these guys first, and it's, wow, this guy's going to be good. And I can remember that when Sir Anthony Dominguez came up for the first time being like, yeah, this guy's not going to be here for very long. And obviously it's unfortunate what's happened with his injuries and stuff. But a lot of times it's the complete opposite. I'll text him as soon as I see a guy for the first time and be like, yeah, I'm not going to have him here for a long time.
Yeah.
Tom, you mentioned calling the Bills game and how excited you get to call games. You've called NFL games, college football, college basketball, and the baseball off season. You're not even just on baseball duty now. After you get to call that game this weekend, you're doing some March Madness games. What's it like to be involved in all these different sports and be able to be out there, being the voice that people hear to describe what they can't necessarily see themselves at times, or that they're watching, and you tell them what's before their eyes?
No, it's great. People always ask me why I keep doing all these sports, and I said because I've basically been trained to do them. When I was in the minor leagues, or even before that, in high school, doing high school and college games, I would do a game I would do a sport every season, basically. And I've kind of just kept that. I have pared down my schedule a little bit. I mean, there was a point when Pat and Tommy were both in middle school where I was coaching a basketball team, the school team that Pat eventually went on to coach, that I was there was a time where it was 42 consecutive days that I had basketball, whether I was broadcasting a St. Joe's game, doing a game on TV, or coaching a basketball game. So for me, I think one kind of feeds off the other. I feel like doing these games for the NCAA tournament make me a better broadcaster for the Phillies. And I think doing the NFL games makes me a better broadcaster for college basketball. So, the more reps I do, I think it's better. I don't sit well, if that makes any sense. I don't sit still well. There's always stuff, my mind's always moving, so it's always good that I have something to do. And, I think it's all part of being a broadcaster, like being a full-fledged broadcaster, is that you have 8 million things going on at one time. So, and then now over the last year or two, if not longer, I mean, Pat and Tommy have come and have done stats for me or my spotters, and that's kind of cool too, because that gives them a chance to see what it's like to do a network game. Pat, unfortunately, can't come to Indianapolis, but my other son is coming to be my stat guy, so that's kind of neat to get them involved too.
So I got to ask this before you go. We talk about fathers and sons, and baseball is the epitome of fathers, sons, fathers, daughters, moms and sons, just family from one to the other. I think I heard a story that, Tom, you actually caught Pat's first home run.
Yeah, I did. It's funny because we would have a Saturday afternoon game, I think, with Pat with the Mets. Was it when I was with the Mets that we would have Saturday afternoon games, right?
Yeah, because the Phils have always done Saturday night games and so, I think it was the Mets that were doing 105s and
right. So Pat would play at 9:00, and I'd go and I'd watch his first at bat because usually he was toward the top of the order, so I'd get at least his first at bat, or I'd roll in, late for a night game, that type of thing if we had a day game. So it just so happened I was out in right field when he hit his first Little League home run. It was kind of cool. So,
all right, Pat, who has that ball?
I still do. It is still in a case in my room at home. It got defaced a little bit, though, because I brought it in for sixth grade show and tell once later that year, and a couple of kids on my team thought it was going to be a great idea to sign it, and 12-year-old me thought that was a great idea, and now 26-year-old me is very upset that happened. So it's got a bunch of random writing on it now that's funny. I really wish it wasn't, but yeah, it was such a cool moment, and I only hit 2, so it was awesome to have him there for the first.
Oh, I'm sorry that the first now has people's signatures you may not talk to anymore on them.
I can guarantee you I don't speak to a single one of them.
Well, it's a reminder of where you came from. Guys, this was a blast.
Exactly.
Thank you enough for having you both on. Can't wait to hear both of your voices out there calling different games, obviously, in May for you, Pat. Look forward to having you help us welcome us to the season. Thank you both so much for the time.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Appreciate having us.
Yeah, thanks so much. Really fun.